So, today we're going to talk about fan bases, because nobody else has ever made a video about fan bases. If you've spent any amount of time on the internet, chances are you will have come across one of these disgusting, festering piles of filth. And heck, maybe you're even part of one, judging from the kind of people that comment on my videos. So to truly understand what a fanbase is, we have to define it. According to Google, the ever-trustworthy source of information, it's a group of people who are devoted to a particular movie, sports team, character, etc. And while many times people can fall into these mostly harmless fanbases, they aren't the ones that you find skulking around in the deep dark corners of the online world. No, instead people devote themselves to stupid 90s video game characters like Sonic, or to any old indie game that Markiplier and Jacksepticeye played, like Five Nights at Freddy's or Tattletale, or Bendy and the Ink Machine. And while all of these fanbases are bad, filling DeviantArt pages with cringy fan art and frankly disgusting pieces of atrocities, the one that I have the worst experience with is the comic fanbase. Now don't get me wrong, I like comics just as much as the next internet animator. Comics like Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns, and The Killing Joke are no doubt masterpieces in their own right. But when it comes to loving comics and the characters in them so much that you will defend any piece of media that involves them simply because it features your favorite character, and it's like, why? Why would you do that? Why the An example of these kind of people that I encountered was back around a year ago, when Batman v Superman had just been released. Having seen the trailers, I already knew that it was going to be pretty bad, and when I watched the actual movie, I was pleasantly surprised. Sure, the story was a bit of a mess, and it was unbearably dark in tone, but nonetheless I still enjoyed watching it the entire time. Not a great movie, not even a good movie, but it was watchable enough. The next day after watching the movie, I visited Reddit, and found a discussion thread on the topic of the movie, asking people what they thought. I figured I'd pitch in, so I wrote a short, maybe 4-sentence long piece, essentially saying that while I liked it, it was also an inherently flawed movie. Not thinking much of it, I closed the laptop and went to sleep. So the next day I went on Reddit again to see if anyone else had posted on the thread, only to see that I had something in my inbox. Naturally, I clicked to see who it was, and there was a 4-paragraph long response telling me how stupid and wrong I was. Unfortunately, I don't have the comment anymore. Upon visiting the thread, it appears that the user deleted it, but the majority of it was this guy telling me that Zack Snyder is an amazing director, and his visual imagery is amazing, and how because the movie was loosely based off of a graphic novel, it's amazing, and Batman is a timeless character, and it's not made for general audiences, it's made for comic book fans, and blah blah blah. After reading through the entire comment, I didn't even feel angry, really. I just felt confused. Why would someone feel the need to do this? Just because they devote themselves to a particular media type or source, why do they need to go out of their way to belittle and insult anyone with a differing opinion? It honestly boggles my mind that someone would go that far and be in that state of mind. Another fanbase, which is arguably worse than the comic fanbase, is the Sonic fanbase. While I can at least tolerate the comic fanbase because I too like superheroes and comic books, with Sonic, I just can't say the same. Before I get into my encounter, let me explain a few gripes that I have with the Sonic fans. First of all, why do they like Sonic so much? What is it about him? He's just a washed-up mascot from Sega from the 90s who was created as a competitor to Mario. I mean, really, where's the appeal? He goes fast. His personality is witty, I guess. There's really nothing special about him, and judging from the very poor ratings his recent games have had, why even bother with this blue fuzzball? Moving on from that, the first encounter I had with this fanbase is one that, I am not kidding, scarred me for life. At the young age of 11, I was browsing DeviantArt after my friend had told me that it was a cool website to go on. So I was looking through various pieces of art, sometimes leaving comments and sometimes not, when I came across the most disgusting piece of Sonic fan art that I have ever seen. This thing honestly scarred me so much that I had nightmares about it. Every time I closed my eyes, this goddamn abomination is what I saw. And to this day, anytime that I hear about Sonic, that image is what comes to mind. Just why? What would drive someone to make this disgusting, putrid cancer? Why would you draw this? What brings people to the point where they say, oh, I like Sonic, time to make some bloated, obese fetish art of Sonic the Hedgehog, utilizing my clear lack of any artistic talent or ability, and better yet, let's post it on DeviantArt so that some child can be scarred for life. Now that I've run my mouth for a while, I'd like to hand it over to a few other content creators.
No, it's duck hunting season. That, sir, is an
Fanbases. They can be the best thing in the world, granting you a podium in which to speak when you have something to say that a lot of people need to hear. Like a valid argument on politics, giving people information they need to hear, or just to show the world how delightful your fun pillows are to hold. Ah, aren't they lovely? Maybe that's the feeling women get when they see babies. Anyway, I'm getting side boob. Tracked. But fan bases are a double-edged sword, in the sense that they can grant a podium for you when you have something relevant to say, but they can also grant that same honour to people who are manipulative, hateful, and stupid, who say things that have as much thought put into them as a waterproof teabag. Only turning their back on these people when a larger, more reputable source points out how said person is all of the above, rather than figuring all that out for themselves. Or, in more extreme cases, stick around even after the creator has been exposed for beating children, not declaring a site they own, or just outright lying to their fan base. Insert most relevant scandal here. These are a part of the crowd who attack anybody who dare says anything less than flattering about their idols. What? The human being I adore, that's full of the same rational and irrational thoughts as everyone else, said something cuntish, and you called them a cunt for it? Attack!
I don't know who you are, but you saved our lives. We're Autobots.
Fan bases, for the most part, are pretty terrible right now. You have your terrible comic book fans, Five Nights at Freddy's fans, and all sorts of other garbage that has a fan base that is even worse somehow. One fan base that particularly bugs me is a Transformers film fan base. Just to give you an idea on how bad the fandom is of these movies, I found these comments on a trailer for Transformers 5. Let me know when you can read any of what's being said here. While these two comments are probably from children that shouldn't be allowed to access YouTube accounts, whether it be their own or their parents', but there are so many more comments that bug me, like ones that say that Transformers is nothing without Shia LaBeouf. Like, come on, you realize what makes the Transformers movies is the Transformers themselves. Everyone knows that you're more interested in seeing Optimus Prime do things than seeing Shia LaBeouf do things, or Mark Wahlberg. Not to mention that the fans will hate on Michael Bay just because he took some risks in killing some characters. Not like those characters were very impactful anyway. Man, this topic actually interests me in some way. Thanks, Turkey Tom.
Thanks so much to
I'm off to make
Ducky
my own
and
video on this.
For guest starring in this video. I've left the link to their channels in the description. Subscribe to both of them. By this point, you're probably thinking that I'm just making this video to harp on fan bases and make fun of cringy fan art. And yes, you'd be right, but there is a message here, a lesson, even a moral, if you will. Instead of just being a collection of other people's work, and being an annoying, belligerent fanboy or fangirl who will denounce and ridicule anyone with a different opinion than them, be your own person. Create your own comic or video game character or just anything. Do something with yourself. And I promise, you'll be more proud than you would ever be as a fanboy or fangirl.